7.
It only took me 8 years, but I finally beat Resident Evil 7, and now I have some thoughts on it. I'm going to break this down into sections based on the main antagonist of each area, and kind of go over what I liked in each area and what I didn't.
Mia Winters. Prologue.
For the most part, I feel like the start of the game is very well done. It sets up the world beautifully. It lets you know that this Resident Evil is going to be a lot different, a lot creepier, a lot slower, a lot more methodical than the games that came prior. It allows the events to slowly unfold before you, the tension to get drawn very, very tight before finally snapping when Mia attacks. It is very well done and sets the tone for what you're about to experience for the next 7-ish hours. However, this section's not perfect. My main issue with it is the characters. Ethan and Mia do not feel like they are compatible. I'm supposed to believe that Ethan took all this time to drive out to find his missing wife, and when they get reunited, it's very, why are you here? Go away. I didn't send you a message. Get out now. There's no chemistry between them, and that's largely due to the fact that Capcom, I don't believe, knew what they wanted Ethan to be. So they left him as kind of an empty shell, which puts a lot of the onus upon the player to bring in their own experiences, their own biases, and fill in Ethan through their own experiences. Which, if you want a game to be character-driven and feel authentic, the protagonist should have some sort of personality. Unfortunately, that is a problem that kind of persists throughout the duration of the entire game. Ethan and Mia, they just seem very incompatible, and it kind of hinders my enjoyment of the overarching story, because there's always this nagging question back in my mind. It's like, why would this character go out of his way to save this woman? They don't ever feel like they really like each other. With that nitpick out of the way, we can move on to my favorite section of the entire game.
Jack Baker. Main house.
This is where Resident Evil 7 really shines for two main reasons for me. First, the house. I love this house. I love how interconnected it is. I love the secrets that are just hidden in there, the creepy vibe, the basement. Everything about this section of the game is very enjoyable, and I wish it persisted throughout the entire game. The second, and this is a big one, hold your hats, Jack Baker. Jack Baker is my favorite stalker out of all the new Resident Evil games. I know what you're thinking. What about Mr. X? I kind of hate Mr. X. After the first initial meeting with him, where he's big, intimidating, and imposing, I feel like he overstays his welcome. It just becomes so annoying and such a nuisance. He's not interesting to look at. He's just a big man, a swirly face, in a trench coat and a fedora. Who the hell is afraid of that? He looks like if he walked by a middle school, the kids would make fun of him. Anyway, getting off track. Mr. X just doesn't do it for me like Jack Baker does. Wait, no, not like that. Okay, Jack, he looks almost human, which makes him so incredibly creepy. And the way he follows you through the house and taunts you and just eggs you on, and it's not he's out there to kill you immediately. He's out there to play with you, to toy with you, to torment you. And that just makes him so very, very frightening. And Jack's two boss fights in this area really highlight that it's still gonna be a little campy. It's still Resident Evil. It's still, wait, don't open that door. And that kind of vibe persists throughout this universe, but it also shows how deadly this game is. This man is burning out doing donuts in his garage, but he will run your ass down in an instant. He has a chainsaw and makes a reference to Evil Dead, but he will slice you into little bits, which I found out again and again and again and again. That chainsaw fight is the only time I have ever been mad at a game. I got so mad, I turned it off for 2 days. This is my favorite part of the game, which is both a blessing and a curse, because it shows you the highs this game is capable of reaching, but it hits you with it so early on that the rest of the game kind of feels almost like a slog to get through. So if you haven't played it before and want to experience it and don't feel like horror is for you, I'd recommend playing up until the second Jack fight, and if you're not enjoying it, then it doesn't get better. I really wish the rest of the game stayed within the house. You never went outside, never experienced anything beyond the borders and confines of those walls. Maybe the house opens up, becomes more of a labyrinth, kind of how the Spencer Mansion opened up as you explored and found new passageways, and new secrets, new keys, and this random puzzle unlocked this door on the other side. With them making reference to George Trevor and his company, I was expecting the house to be far more complex than it ended up being. I'm a little disappointed that we're immediately booted outside, and once you get that fresh air and it's no longer locked in, the game loses a lot of its horror for me.
Marguerite Baker, Old House.
Before we continue, you gotta ask yourself a question. Do I like bugs? Well, do ya, punk?
Because if you don't, this section is not for you. I like the idea of the old house more than I enjoyed the old house in practice. It sounds really cool because you learn that a hurricane came through and destroyed part of the house. It's now flooded underwater and they're working to rebuild it and everything. But you go there and it feels very lackluster. This area feels just like a transition. We're going from the Jack fight to the Marguerite fight, but we need a little length of gameplay in between to connect these points together, and that's all this is. It's not my favorite area, it's not my least favorite area, it just kinda exists. I do enjoy that they tried to increase the variety of enemies by including the insects, but the insects themselves aren't varied enough for it to really matter that they're in the game. It does add a little more lore to how Marguerite works, but they're more of a nuisance than anything. With that said, this section does include one of my favorite scenes in the game, and that's when you come back down and Marguerite reaches forward and grabs her lantern, drags it back. I love how they chose that moment to illustrate the body horror of Marguerite because it's so impactful. Getting out of the old house, because I really have nothing to say about it, it's just a transition, point A, point B section, getting to the Marguerite fight. This fight is done exceptionally well. I really love how she feels different than every other enemy you've encountered before her. Unlike Jack, where he stalks you and pursues you, she ambushes you. She made me hunker down in a corner because I was too afraid to move, because I wanted to keep my eyes everywhere all at once. And during one part of the fight, I look up and she's crouched on the ceiling waiting for me to walk under her, kind of like a spider waiting for an insect or something to crawl into its web before pouncing on it. And that is why I really wish she made it through this fight. I believe that if changes would have been made starting at this point of the game could have been so much better. If it would have allowed Marguerite to slip away after you defeat her and she leaves her lantern, maybe blow her arm off or something, just so she can show up later on, would have been a much more interesting dynamic than killing her here, especially since later on you find out you need the serum in order to fully kill Jack, but bullets worked on Marguerite, so some of the logic in the game itself doesn't make too much sense. And now, on to my least favorite baker!
Lucas Baker, testing area.
You know how they say, if you have nothing nice to say nothing at all? That's kind of how I feel about this next section. That is largely due to the setup that the game provides Lucas before you go into this area. It sets him up to be this engineering genius, this psychopath who tortured a child, and they get into his lair and it is just bomb, ba bomb, 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 ba bomb, 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 ba bomb, bomb, bomb. There's no interesting traps, there's nothing unique about them. It's just there's a tripwire that's gonna blow you up. Then the cherry on top of getting through Lucas's little bomb madhouse is you have to get out of his escape room, which would be cool and interesting and intriguing, except for he sends you to find a key card to get in there, and there's a videotape in the room with one of the key cards that shows you exactly how to get out of this trap. The game could have been very clever in this moment and had you watch the happy birthday tape and then alter the puzzle a little bit. Change it. Maybe the cake doesn't blow up. Maybe there's sauce, maybe there's something interesting that happened. It could have drawn you into this false sense of security before something very, very bad happened. I believe this area could have been a standout in the game if they would have allowed Lucas to actually be this genius they set him up to be, make him sadistic and evil, and really have him play out his soft fantasies on you as you travel through this area. You remember how I said Marguerite should have been still alive? She should have pursued you through Lucas's screwed up playground. You could hear her skittering the walls, and at the end when you're trying to save Mia and Zoe, instead of a third Jack fight, it's a second Marguerite fight. Fighting a more mutated and grotesque insectoid Marguerite, I think would have gone a lot harder than fighting Jack as a big gooey sludge monster with very obvious shoot me spots on him. The fight wasn't dynamic, it didn't really engage you, it was monotonous and a slog, and be like, okay, I think I saw all the spots. Oh, I missed one on his underside. Gotta get it now. And then it culminates in you having to use the serum on him to kill him. which then brought up the question is like, why did Marguerite die? So if they would have flipped it and had this be a second Marguerite fight, and you need to use the serum to fully kill her, be like, oh my god, did I kill Jack? Is he still alive? Is he still out there? Is he gonna come get me? And then that would have fed into the DLC a little more, where Joe has to go fight his brother. It would have felt a lot more cohesive as a story. And I would have loved to see that more than what we got. I told you I didn't have anything nice to say about this area, but then they outdo themselves and add some sprinkles on top of the cherry, on top of the ice cream, and give you a choose your own adventure for no reason.
Mia Winters versus Zoe Baker. Fight!
Having to decide between Mia and Zoe makes very, very, very little sense in this game. There is no reason for it to throw this option out there. The entire crux, the premise, the catalyst for the entire game is saving Mia. So canonically, saving her makes the most sense, even though there's no reason to like her at this point in the game or for the rest of the game, but going with her just makes sense.
Evelyn, take her.
As we close in on the end of the game, our boy Ethan gets taken away from us and we have to play as Mia. From a development standpoint, I completely understand this choice. It strips away all of your gear and your items and makes you defenseless once again, but then you very shortly after get a gun and things just go back to how they used to be. This would have been a perfect opportunity to showcase not only Evelyn's powers on the tanker, but show Mia in a new light and make her a sympathetic character. Instead, we learned that Mia is one of the main causes of everything that's happened, and she's still not likable. The tanker section of this game could have been excellent if they would focus more on puzzles and stealth and really showing us who Mia is as a person to warrant the fact that her husband went out of his way to try and save her from this insanity. I know I'm not alone in my disdain for the tanker. I know a lot of people don't like this area because it feels very shoehorned in. For me, this section is just like the old house, where the goal is to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. Point A is starting as Mia, and point B is getting back to Ethan because he is a better character.
E001 Salt Mines.
Much like the tanker, this area is about getting from point A to point B, except it has a little more of a purpose. It shows you how powerful you've gotten since the start of the game. Whereas one of these molded at the beginning was a terrifying force on its own, you're now running through mowing them down left and right. The second reason this area exists is to dump exposition on you in the form of many, many documents. I feel like having a big lore room at the end of the game is just a Resident Evil staple at this point. It's like, oh, you want to know all the stuff about this virus? Here you go. Here it is, very nicely laid out because someone left it here for you. All these documents just laid out, this computer unlocked. Here you go. Here's what happened. Here's the lore. Have fun. You want to know how the molded are made? We got you. You want to know who Evelyn is? We got you. You want to know what type of powers Evelyn has? We got you, boo. Then after you're done reading all the documents you ever could want to read in a game and feeling like Rambo as you sprint through the salt mines just gunning everything down, you finally come face to face with the master of evil, your nemesis, a little child who is also an old lady.
Granny Baker Residence.
You square off against her hallucinations of your wife, and you jab her in the neck with some good medicine that tastes like grape, and you fight a wall of face. Wait, that's it? Wall of face? That's last fight? That's last boss? That's the best we got? Yep, that's it. You shoot this random big moldy face several dozen times. Bam, bam, thank you, ma'am, you're done. And just to tie everything together, Chris Redfield drops from the heavens and states that he is Redfield. And you're like, wait, you don't look right, Chris. The end of the game felt like Capcom trying to prove that this is actually a Resident Evil game. Like, oh, you remember Umbrella? Here, new Umbrella. Oh, remember Chris, who last time you saw him was completely jacked, punching boulders and zombies and stuff left, right, and sideways? He is now off the roids and super skinny. For this last stretch of the game, I didn't really feel like I had anything to say about it because it goes by so fast. You're on the tanker, you're in the mines, you're fighting Evelyn, and it just goes bam, bam, bam. There's no reason for most of the areas to exist because they don't really help deepen the game in any meaningful way. The best part about these sections is the big lore room, because you find out so much information that the game could have probably provided to you in a better way, in a more cinematic way. But this is Resident Evil after all. They do love their documents.
Conclusion.
Overall, I did really enjoy my time with the game, even though I do feel like they could have done things better. I chalk that up to the fact that I waited so long to play it, so I had this overinflated hype built up around it, with people saying it's the best Resident Evil game, it's so scary, it's so creepy. So I went in with these huge expectations, which of course, the game's not going to live up to, because how could it? What do you all think? Did Resident Evil 7 live up to the hype around it? Are there things you wish they would have done better, done different? Did you like that it was more horror focused, or would you like something a little more campier? Would you have liked more puzzles and have be like a giant puzzle box, kind of like how the Spencer Mansion was? Let me know. I'm curious. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble about this, and y'all stay spooky out there.